Chefs use Baker & Baker salts for the quality and to manage the level of saltiness in their foods. They recognise, for example, that the salt flakes have a different flavour profile than the ground flakes. Now, when you're purchasing a salt that comes in a grinder will almost inevitably be a rock salt, because the only way to grind a rock salt is through a grinder. When you're purchasing a shaker, the salt has already been ground, and it's more than likely in a powder form or a fine form, and that will allow you to shake the salt over your food. When you're purchasing salt flakes, these are very light, very airy salts that allow you to actually pick them up with your hand and put them across your food. This allows you to have some level of control and interaction with the salt. And it's the salt that a lot of the chefs prefer to use because it has a higher level of sharpness and a far more pleasurable flavour and sensation when you're eating that salt. So there is a reason that people were purchasing salt flakes versus rock salts or fine salts. Applying Baker & Baker salts before cooking or after cooking, that's another question we get asked. But let me tell you, it does depend on the type of person you are. If you're doing a casserole, you're doing a stew, you're doing something that requires liquid, by all means, there's nothing wrong with shaking salt into that. It will remain within the food, it will give you that flavour that you're looking for. If you're having meats, you're having, for example, a steak, salt is best put on afterwards. You can see the salt, you can see the level of flavour that's going to go into the meat, and you can enjoy it far better. So it does depend on the type of food that you're using and what your intended purpose is. But by all means, experience and try around with the different types of flavours that we have. A lot of people ask us at Baker & Baker Salts, how do we use the salt and when do we use the salt in the cooking process? The answer really is that it's dependent on you. How you want to use the salt is up to you. If you take, for example, a stew or a casserole, it's probably best to put the salt in during the cooking process so it can infuse through the cooking and the food itself. But personally, when I'm having a steak on the barbecue, I only put the salt on afterwards. The reason being is that I can manage the level of salt that I'm putting on the meat, and I know exactly how much salt I need for the best flavour. And that's really what the experience is about. When you're having the meat, in my personal case, when I put the salt on afterwards, I know exactly the salt's there and I'm going to enjoy it. The amount of salt is a personal choice.